Hold on. I don't know why it does this twice. Okay.
Cool. Great. Hi, everyone. My name's Hannah Garfield. I'm one of the programmers for Woods Hole Film Festival this year, as well as social media. I'm running all our social media accounts and kind of do a lot of whatever needs to help get done to help make the virtual festival happen this year. We're really, really excited to be bringing the 29th Woods Hole Film Festival this year. It will be virtual, running from July 25th to August 1st. Today is our first of many filmmaker chats that we'll be doing throughout the next 2 weeks to help promote the film festival and talk with filmmakers at the festival. So we have filmmakers from 4 different shorts today. So I'm just going to give them a chance to quickly go through and introduce themselves and kind of say where they're coming in from. So why don't we start with Dennis?
Hi, I'm the writer-director of Savage, and I'm sitting here with George Cook, who composed and performed the music for it. And we're sitting in Suffolk in England. Thanks for having us.
Perfect. Noel, you want to go next?
Hi, my name is Noël Fuselier. I'm coming from Paris, France, and I directed the short film Mars Colony, yes.
Okay. Jim and Hoyt.
Hi, I'm Jim Picarello. I'm the co-writer and director of The Mushroom Huntress. I'm calling in from Maine, the US. And Hoyt was one of our stars. And Hoyt, introduce yourself.
Hello, yes, I'm Hoyt, and I'm in Los Angeles, so it's a bit early for me. So, but I'm happy to be here, and I'm a big fan of Woods Hole and the whole New England area. So it's nice to at least be there virtually.
Perfect. And then finally, we have Lanray and Ross.
Hello, I am Lanray Olabisi, and I am calling from Brooklyn, New York, and I'm the writer and director of A Storybook Ending.
Mike, and I'm Ross Better. I am Laundry's creative partner and I help produce it. And I'm actually calling from Hyannis, Cape Cod. So I think I'm closest to the festival.
Yeah, you are. You win being closest, and I think Noel, you win being farthest right now.
Yeah.
So just to start, see, the film hasn't started yet. It starts next Saturday. So nobody has seen your films yet except for me. So I would take a moment to kind of have each of you kind of tell us about your films and what inspired you to make your films. How has it been trying to promote the film in COVID? Anything you want to discuss about your film? I want to go in the same order again, Dennis.
Sure. I mean, it's a bit of pressure, but to start every time. But I'm going to try and deal with it. So Savage is a film that I finished in 2019 with a group of people who helped me with it, and who I'm very thankful for their participation, who were amazing. And it's a film that deals with colonialism in England, which is my adopted country in many ways. And I live here now, and I work here, and I do most of my stuff here. And I always felt that but I am still a foreigner, and I've seen a lot of the ways in which English people interpret English history and the colonial history. And I've always found it to be very problematic in the way it's been kind of swept under the carpet, and it's not been talked about. And the film Savage is about a human Zeus, which was a very despicable thing that went on for many decades in the 19th and up until kind of halfway through the 20th century in some countries. Which was about taking people from the colonies of Britain and France and Belgium and showing them as exhibits in museums and expositions, and kind of organizing these human these human exhibitions where white people would go and look at them and kind of feel like, wow, it's amazing, there's a person from the Congo or whatever. And I was very lucky to come across actors and producers who understood the importance of this story, I think. And we shot it in 2018. So thankfully I was able to make it to some festivals personally before COVID struck, which, I got to go to the United States. I was in San Diego, and I went to China with it, and a few other places. And I've been very happy, especially with the way it's been picked up in the US, where I think the conversation on race is in some ways more advanced than here, where at least it's kind of more out in the open, I feel, even though there are many issues. Whereas I think here in Europe, a lot of people just don't want to deal with this. Maybe now, is an interesting time, actually, because I think we were slightly kind of ahead of schedule, perhaps, with the conversation we're trying to spark with the film. I just hope, I think it's a topic that's going to be talked about more and more in the coming years, and hopefully I think better filmmakers will address it with better and feature films or documentaries, and I hope that that's going to be the case. But especially in the US, we had a very decent festival run, and I was very happy with that. Much less so in Europe, I don't know. I don't think there was a kind of anti-Savage conspiracy in Europe, but I guess it didn't resonate as much.
Right.
Sorry, that was long.
Noel, you want to go next?
Yes. So first of all, I'm very happy to be to present the movie in the United States, because the story of my life in cinema goes with the American history of movie history, and I grew up with all the American fantastic cinema like Joe Dante's, James Cameron, and all the movie horror and fantastic movie of the 80s. And I tried to make something like this in France, and it's a country where there isn't the culture of this kind of movies. So it was hard to create a story, to create an universe that matched with French culture and with my love for American movies. So it's very important to me to present this movie today in America with an audience that would, I think, they would be that could understand the movie, that could see all the references. But it's not a movie about references. It's a movie about a kid who wants to dream about something else. He wants to go and settle on Mars, and the right to dream today. We have the right to dream. We talk all day long about how the end of the world could be. It has never been sooner as today, and close as today. I don't know how to say. Sorry, my English. But I think that there is a great anger in youth today, and I wanted to talk about this, and I wanted to let them know that we still have the right to dream, and even if our dreams could look very, very, very fantastic or too big to be real, I think that I wanted to share this feeling, and I wanted to say we can do it, and I wanted to do it with all my dreams that are talk about fantastic stories, talk about the right to make in France movies about dreaming, about dreams, about space, about I want to do the SF. So this was a first step into this, even though I hope you see it and you enjoy it, but it's more complicated. You have the right to live, but maybe not right now, you know, but it will come. Well, I hope everybody will enjoy, and I'm very, very proud to be with you today and to be I would have loved so much to be in real person with you, but I think maybe next time.
Yes, exactly. Next time. Thank you, Noel. Jim and Hoyt.
Oh, hi. So our film was, or is The Mushroom Huntress, and it's about a young woman who is cut off from her rich, cold mother and witnesses her scheme-addicted father being dragged off to prison. And she has to find her own way in the world and wants to support herself through the love of foraging for mushrooms. And along the forest floor, she discovers a family secret. And it has a bit of a twist at the end that I joke that it's kind of a family-friendly Fight Club, in that you realize at the end that you were watching a different movie, you know, than you thought. We were lucky to have Hoyt be a part of this, especially because he, if you didn't know, is credited as being the world's first male supermodel, and true story, actually true. And Lacey, who was our lead, couldn't make it this morning, but she was fantastic. And yeah, we finished editing this film a month before everything got shut down. In fact, I was in Durango with my last film at the same time that all of this was happening, and it went from, oh, this might be an interesting thing that happens, you know, with the pandemic, to they shut down South by Southwest within just a couple of days. And it was like, oh, that's the end of Western civilization if they shut down South by. So yeah, it's been an interesting situation. Obviously, just newly submitting to festivals, and but I think this is an interesting situation that I think might change how we experience festivals and might just make the reach broader. Hoyt, is there anything you wanted to say?
Well, yeah, this was a great opportunity for me to work with Jim. I'd met Jim on the film festival circuit, and so I'm also a filmmaker myself, as well as an actor and a writer. And on the film festival circuit, you get to meet, as I say, the doers rather than the talkers. And you know, that's one of the things I love about film festivals, is the fact that you meet your kind of kindred, your spirits out there, of the people that actually are crazy enough to be pursuing the same dream that we all have, and think that maybe someday down the road we can pay our bills this way. And so Jim was someone who we have some shared background, and then we offered me the opportunity to come and work in Maine. I'd never been to Maine, and I traveled quite a lot in my days. As Jim referenced, I was a model, so I traveled you know, all over the world for a decade and a half before I started acting and writing. And I'd never been to that part of the States, and it was a beautiful experience, and we had a great time. And I just you know, urge everyone to check out what Jim's work is, because he's one of the up and coming fine filmmakers, and I'm looking forward to seeing everybody's work now. It's always fun to kind of see who are the emerging talents, and I just like kind of rubbing elbows with everybody.
That is one of the great things about film festivals, is really getting to see, you know, independent film, which, you know, a lot of the filmmakers are young and up and coming, and it's really great.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
All right, but finally, last but not least, we have Lanre and Ross.
Yes, so hi, I'm Lanre Olabisi with A Storybook Ending, and my film's about Hey, Russ, can you go on mute for
Yeah,
a second,
yeah.
please? Thanks. So my film's about a black man who accidentally kills a white undercover cop in self-defense, and then the cover-up leads to a chain reaction of deceit, blackmail, and murder. And even though that pitch probably does not sound like it, it is a dark comedy. And the idea actually came to me back in 2015. It's based off of a feature film script that I had written, but I'm not sure if you guys are all familiar with the James Blake story. Like James Blake is a tennis player, was a famous African-American tennis player who was waiting for a car to take him to the US Open, when all of a sudden a undercover cop just runs up to him and slams him onto the floor without identifying himself. It was just like a random dude running up, slamming him onto the floor and arresting him because he fit the description, right? And then it turned out that he was the wrong person, obviously. And that event had me think to myself, wow, if that happened to me, that would be very dangerous, right? Because I wrestled at the University of Michigan. I have an extensive martial arts background, especially in jiu-jitsu. So if somebody were to attack me, I'm going to fight back. And if I fight back, you know, like I would have probably tried to have thrown the cop. What happens if I threw the cop? What happens if he hits his head? What happens if he dies, right? So I had all these what if situations running. And then at first I was going to make more of a Fruitvale Station type story, you know, like just really serious, really dark, really deep. And then I said, you know, that's I've made other films before, so that's something that I've really done already. So I said, let me go in a completely different direction and try to make it funnier, and just a little more humorous, which I found really fun to write and really interesting. And then that just led to, since I wasn't able to find money for the feature, I said, okay, let me just make a short as kind of like a proof of concept. And luckily, you know, it turned out all good.
And yeah, just to add to like my involvement in the film, me and Lanre go back a ways, and it was something, you know, we've been wanting to make and looking to make for a long time. And it was like such a pleasure getting to make this, because like, especially right now, the timing I think is really fortuitous, because not only is the topic, you know, on everybody's mind, it's also just like, I'm glad the approach to this is like in a more dark comedy genre. I think like Lanre said, Fruitvale Station was the inspiration there, but like it is, or that already got made. And so like, this is such a nice kind of like fun, accessible twist on, I don't know, in a time where things seem really bleak, it's actually really great to have something like this that's a little more accessible on that front. So it's really exciting.
Yeah. All right. So kind of our next question going forward. So we have obviously put together these filmmaker chats, and we've tried to organize them in some way that it makes sense to have these films kind of grouped together. And so we haven't really shared how we group together. So for you guys, we kind of grouped your films around this question of how did I end up here? So I wanted to kind of put the question out there. How do you think that question is relevant to your films? This time I won't just call on people. So if you feel ready to kind of answer that question, just pop on in. Lanre?
I mean, I think for storybook ending, that's pretty evident, because right in the beginning of the film, you're kind of thrust into a situation of how did these people end up here, right? I don't want to give too much away, but it starts right in the middle of the blackmailing takeover type situation. So that totally makes sense to me.
Noel?
Yeah. I told that the movie talked about this kid, this teenager who wanted to go on Mars to settle and to give hope to humanity. The story is a little more complicated. There is a guy coming from the future who comes to see him one evening and tells him that he is the same person 30 years older. And he tells him that if he managed to accomplish a mission to save humanity, it will take him with him in the future on Mars, where the humanity is saved. I can't say right now what all the story is about, but how did he end up here? Because of his dream. So it's always the center of it's the most important thing in the movie. He ended up here because he dreamed so much of it. He put so many effort in trying to make it real that he could follow any path, and this is how at the very end he managed to realize his dream, because he wanted it, and this is all about it.
Great, thank you, Noel. Jim?
Yeah, so the Mushroom Huntress, we actually follow this young woman from when she's a child, loving discovering and learning about mushrooms with her father, and you can tell that they're an affluent family. And so it's sort of idyllic, her childhood, and then she's thrown into this chaotic situation where she has to fend for herself, and you can tell that she always tries to take on these challenges of fending for herself and finding independence in a positive way. She's willing to put the effort into it. So that's, to answer your question, she's just thrown into this new world that most of the rest of us have to deal with all the time.
Great. Dennis, do you have anything like?
Yeah, I mean, yes, thank you. Well, so as I said, the film is about someone who is taken from their home on a different continent and put into an exhibition space in England in 1910, roughly, in that time period. And you never really see how that happened. And I think actually it was something that I would have been tremendously interested in kind of exploring in the film, but unfortunately it was a short film, and it would have been very hard for me also to go and shoot in Africa or try and redo that. But how does that person end up there? Well, because of the existence of the colonial empires and the kind of power structures that created, he is taken by a kind of adventurer, which was quite common at the time. These sort of types would go to the colonies and they would, promise they would meet someone somewhere who was living in a village, a peaceful life, and they would promise them something, or just kind of fool them and basically take them to France or to Britain, or even to the United States in some cases. In fact, the case that is the most well documented was of a man from the Congo who was called Otabenga. And I really encourage everyone to look this up, because there's been a lot of scholarship on it. And he was taken from the Congo and he was exhibited in the Bronx Zoo in 1912, I think. Maybe a bit earlier. And it's a real, I mean, when you read it, it was, he spent the time in, it's terrible. I don't even really necessarily want to talk about it, but it's, and that to some extent served as a kind of inspiration for this. And Otabenga was kind of swindled by a man who was an American sort of semi-scientist, semi-adventurer who tried to go there to make money, and brought him back, realized there was an economic potential in exhibiting someone. So he just took him around the United States, and that's how it happens. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Right. Thank you, guys. I guess kind of the next topic I wanted to kind of discuss a little bit with all of you is a lot we've kind of touched upon this a little bit already, but a lot of your films deal with these, big topics that are very relevant to current times. So we have a storybook ending and Savage obviously deal with some issues of race, and then we have Mars Colony kind of touches upon bullying a little bit. A Mushroom Huntress, you have kind of this story of wealth and making your own way and trying to figure things out when things go wrong. So kind of question I want to pose to all of you is, what do you think is the role of filmmaking and storytelling, and what in trying to communicate these ideas to the public, and kind of how do you approach making a film that's going to tell these stories that touch upon these issues? How do you approach it as a filmmaker? Does that make sense? I have a tendency to ramble sometimes when I'm trying to come up with, I know what I want to say, but I'm trying to get it out there in the most succinct way, and it never really works. Noel?
Yeah. For me, the most important thing when I write is to be able to write a story that will change myself. And I think because it will change me, it might change other people too. When I was a kid, all the movies that I loved, the Zemeckis, Carpenter, Spielberg, were movies that allowed me to be someone else. And most of the time, they were adventurous movies, and they were movies that, on another level, made me understand things, made me understand the world I'm living in, made me understand the relationships between people, made me understand a lot of things that made the person that I am today. And when I write, I love to try to mix these two things together: the adventures, the pleasure of watching a movie that will take me in another place, somewhere I don't know, somewhere that is very far from me in the relationships and that. But also, it's very important to me to try to be very, very specific. I don't know how to say, very detailed in the relationship between the characters. I love my characters. I love when they achieve something, and I want them to become something else. And I think that when a character has a very strong transformation, the audience maybe will have to. I think I want to bring them with me, and I want to let them dream for a short time, for 35 minutes, and then I hope that they will bring this movie with them, and that there will be something stuck in them, that it's a multitude of things. And the fact that there is a deep meaning, a deep theme in the movie, something important, is because I think we live in a time. There are too many crises everywhere. It's a heavy moment, not just today with the COVID, but there are tensions everywhere. There is this mood of end of times, end of civilization, and I think we can ignore it. So I try to put it in my stories, and I try to talk about it, but without talking just about it. Well, I'm a little bit like you. When I try to speak about something, usually I follow another path, and I don't know what I'm talking about. So, well, this is my my pleasure to take the audience with me. Stop.
Perfect. Thank you, Noel. Anyone else have any? Hoyt?
I can keep on.
There's a few things that Noel said that resonated with me as far as I think films have always been a way for me to sometimes connect to the human experience, and it can be just as basic as sharing the fact that I love the same movie that someone else does, and that becomes a template to have a conversation that you wouldn't have had if you both hadn't shared that experience. But it's also the type of thing when I'm looking at either the projects I'm doing or the projects I'm creating, I'm always looking for that sort of opportunity in the story to talk about that human connection and how vital it is. And though, that you can have an incredible detailed backdrop of great scale, when you break things down on a very simplistic level, it's really about people trying to connect to one another and be seen and be heard and feel like that they're not alone. And I think a lot of for me, those type of stories, like Noel is referencing, where there's transformation involved, those are the things that really resonate with me, because there are certain films that I have watched over the years that I feel altered my perspective, not only of the world, but of myself and others. And I think the opportunity to be in that form of storytelling and communication is a real privilege. And, it's a great job from the point of view of it's fun, but there's also an artistic aspect to it that if you're given that opportunity, that you can maximize. And that's something that's just something that I feel honored to be a part of, that kind of community, and people kind of going for that and trying to elevate the kind of art form, that it's not always just entertainment. Sometimes it can run much deeper. And so I think that's where filmmaking is something that I've kind of come to a little bit later in my life, but for me it really is, nothing feels more passionate and more exciting than being part of that community.
Thank you. Lonray?
Would you be able to just repeat the question a little bit?
Yeah. So basically what I was kind of talking about is, a lot of films deal with, big issues that exist in society at large. How do you, as a filmmaker, do you feel a responsibility when you're making a film to kind of do those big issues, do them justice, and how do you kind of incorporate them into your films?
For me, it's something that I absolutely feel a responsibility to do it justice. Just because, from when I was growing up, the representations of people of color on film weren't always things that I could necessarily connect to and that I was really used to. So for me, all of my films have really been about telling different complex and layered stories that went beyond anything that was cliche or stereotypical or anything like that. So it's something that I definitely constantly think of, the message that I'm sending to the audience. So like even with Storybook ending, it's something that I said, okay, how can I tell this in a different way, in a fun way, in a unique way, with people of color in a way that we've never seen before?
Great, thank you. Ross or Dennis, do either of you guys have anything you'd like to add? We're coming to a close soon, so anything quick you'd like to include?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Ross, go on, please.
Oh no, I was just going to say, to zoom out even more in terms of like how we think it's really important to tell stories and share these experiences. That's part of like why Lonray and I wanted to make Storybook ending, is because like there's experiences he's been through that I've definitely not been through. But also in all this discussion, it's making me think about like how excited I am that festivals like this are continuing, because like I don't know what all of your conversations have been like the last 4 months, but like everybody starts their conversation with recounting what's their story over the last 4 months during this pandemic. And I feel like that just in a microcosm is like what we're doing with films to make them these human empathy machines. And so like just that just that by itself, the fact that we like keep wanting to tell our story because we know that everybody has a similar story just in the last 4 months. And I think like telling films is just like us extrapolating that to this extreme and trying to make it all feel like, oh, it is part of this big human experience. And so, you know, I'm excited we get to like be a part of that process.
Thank you. Dennis, you were.
Yeah, I mean, what I wanted to say is that obviously for me, approaching a subject like this as a white Eastern European person was something that I was very aware of, not coming from the community that this you know, deals with, or an historical experience that it deals with. And actually I was very close to not making the film for that reason. But equally I don't know, I felt like it's such a kind of important issue that that I should maybe try and do it. I kept being kind of drawn back to it, and I one of the ways that I dealt with this is that because it's a real occurrence that really did go on, I basically read everything that there was on the issue, and a lot of the, for example, the dialogues are taken verbatim from kind of historical sources and things like this, you know, and so that no one could say like, you know, this is something fake, you created something fake because you don't have that experience. And actually, you know, the reaction has been overwhelmingly positive to the film and to kind of what it's trying to do. But I mean, is it going to change the world? I mean, probably not, you know, it's a shame. But yeah.
Yeah, still not every story is going to change the world, but it might change somebody's perspective or change somebody's thought process, which is always important. So before we go, does anybody have any kind of final comments, any final wrap-up things they want to say? No? All right. Well, thank you thank you everybody for being here. I know it's really early for some people, and other people it's a normal time in the afternoon. The films are Savage, The Mushroom Huntress, A Storybook Ending, and Mars Colony, and they'll all be available to start watching next week, Saturday, July 25th through August 1st as part of the Woods Hole Film Festival. Passes are on sale now and tickets will be available soon. Right. I just want to say thank you to all our filmmakers for being here again. It was really great having this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you very much.